As already mentioned, we're back with another video about the Cowboys today. We'll examine the latest updates regarding Micah Parsons' contract, one of the many topics on the table. We'll also touch on the ongoing discussion about a possible trade for Travis Hunter, not based on personal opinion, but rather due to a report that revealed the Cowboys' interest. So stay tuned. I consider our team a strong contender in the race for signings in March compared to our competitors. I believe we have a considerable advantage. If that sounds exaggerated, that's fine, but my goal is to surpass the Raiders. Currently, we're about 150 subscribers behind, but in reality, it's more like 250 because sometimes the numbers can be confusing. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do so and follow our Cowboys content. To begin, let's talk about the report revealing that Micah Parsons is seeking a $200 million contract extension, which shouldn't come as a surprise. It's important to highlight what was reported about the contract talks. Parsons' agent and representatives from the Cowboys front office started preliminary discussions about the contract during the NFL Combine, which took place in late February. However, since then, there hasn't been much in-depth conversation. Still, a source close to the negotiations has informed that Jerry Jones has had detailed discussions with Parsons about his contract. Recently, a statement corroborated this information, indicating that informal talks with Micah have taken place, including meetings between him, Jerry, and other members of the front office. It's clear there's respect for both those who wish to discuss their financial matters and those who prefer not to. But if there's interest in talking, the open-door policy is in effect. There have been discussions regarding Micah, with reports suggesting he's received visits. The general feeling is one of optimism surrounding these interactions. Some players prefer to discuss their contract situations, while others are not interested, and we respect both points of view. However, when athletes wish to engage in dialogue, we maintain an open-door policy, both with management and with myself. One player, in particular, enjoys participating in these conversations, which is a positive aspect. The team is trying to establish direct communication with the player, bypassing the agent, something that's been addressed before. This strategy could prove effective because, in certain circumstances, it's possible to reach an agreement earlier and often at a reduced cost. However, if this approach doesn't work, it could lead to dissatisfaction from the agent, who might question why they've been excluded from the process and feel that the direct deal with the player undervalues their role. Ultimately, the player and their team have the advantage in negotiations as they influence the contract discussions, and the value tends to rise. Management, again, seems not to show urgency in their statements, asserting that the team isn't rushing. It's up to the team to handle these issues, because if not, the player can wait until August and still receive his payment, as the team has always honored its commitments. It would be preferable for them to act with a bit more agility this time. This is an area where the team faces challenges because they are aware of the market value. We'll discuss this in more detail later, but the truth is they don't act hastily. They don't see absences as something negative, although this is clearly a problem. I continue to firmly believe this deal will be finalized, but it's important to acknowledge that the team's history isn't particularly strong in closing contracts on time. This is not the usual way they operate. It often results in disadvantages. So, I'd like you to try to predict the date when the player will sign, or, if you don't believe it will happen, the date when he'll be traded. Predictions can be left in the comments. Some relevant dates include the start of voluntary workouts on April 7th, and with a new coach leading, this is the initial date for them. The draft takes place on April 21st. Organized team activities should happen sometime in May, although the exact dates haven't been set. In June, the minicamp is expected to take place at the beginning of the month, but no official dates have been announced yet. Training begins at the end of July. As we approach mandatory activities, that's when the holdout situation could arise. So, considering these dates and factoring in your predictions in the comments, you can also participate in the decision about the player, choosing the date he signs or is traded. To see the entries, visit a specific website where there are several options available. If you want to participate, you'll need to submit a fee to join the decision, and we'll split the prize among the winners. I'd like to avoid another holdout, but this seems likely given that we've seen something similar last year, and the team is taking a similar approach in contract discussions. Although the player and management have talked, if there's no progress from the agent, we're not really moving forward. It's simple. Just pick up the phone and make a call, and this could be resolved in a day. Let's dive into the financial aspects soon and analyze how this deal might, and I believe probably will, shape up as more information becomes available. One of the top names right now could be negotiating a considerable contract. But do you think the player will hold out from the team? Not just from practices, but also from mandatory activities where attendance is required and fines could be applied. What are your reasons for that? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd like to point out that the years for the $200 million contract have not been specified, but it's expected to be a 5-year deal. A 4-year term at that value is not being considered. It's believed that the structuring of this contract isn't overly complex. It's expected to set new records. It's hard to have a standout agent if you're not aiming for a significant financial package. In fact, without an agent, this situation could have already been resolved. Hiring a top-tier agent ensures the maximum compensation possible. So, imagining a 5-year contract with a record-breaking average of $48 million per year and a guaranteed value of $125 million, the total could reach $202.5 million. If we consider adjusting the annual average for a 4-year contract, it typically increases by about $2 million per year, bringing the total to approximately $212.5 million. The guaranteed portion, if maintaining a similar guarantee percentage between the 5- and 4-year agreements, could be around $165 million. It's important to clarify that these numbers are rough estimates, but they give a general idea of the range, which could vary from $48 million to $42.5 million in guarantees. There's room for negotiation in this deal, and it's likely an offer will emerge within this range. In the end, it's not a tough contract to finalize. It just carries a high price due to the delay. Meanwhile, the league has unveiled the Cowboys 2025 draft product line, with most items featuring the team's iconic logo, though not all. If the logo doesn't appeal, there are still options available. The products include various shades of black, including lighter tones, as well as sweatshirts for fans to choose from in this draft collection. Hats also tend to be part of the merchandise on offer. The team's logo appears on some items, while others don't feature it. It's worth noting that not all include this detail. If you're not particularly fond of that aspect, there's no obligation to buy. There's a variation in black, with a lighter shade and a discreet neck design, if you prefer. Sweatshirts are also available as part of this year's draft products. Typically, hats are the main offering during this period, but the selection has expanded to include sweatshirts and t-shirts as well. These items can be found online. Once again, the conversation arises about the connections between a particular player and the Cowboys and the possibility of a trade, largely due to information shared in a podcast. This is the time of year when discussions about various teams and their interest in certain players start to emerge, and it seems there's considerable interest in this athlete. While a preference doesn't guarantee action, it remains a possibility. There are 2 key points to consider here, most of which have already been addressed in previous discussions about this player. It adds a new layer when there are not only ideas but also reports attached. Before diving into this, it would be interesting to assess the likelihood of the Cowboys actually trading for this player. Opinions can be shared in the comments. A recent report included 2 important statements. The first is that the team's owner has a strong admiration for this player. He really is fond of him. This is undoubtedly true. It's no surprise there's affection for this player, as he's widely considered the best in the class. Checking consensus rankings, he consistently ranks among the top 2 for everyone. It's universally accepted that this player is exceptional. This sentiment is reflected throughout the league, with many executives expressing admiration for an athlete viewed as a consensus top pick. This situation mirrors the period when there was great passion for another standout player, but a trade didn't happen to select him. The reason lies in the second statement, which suggests this aligns with the team's usual strategies. However, this statement isn't accurate. In fact, it doesn't hold up, as this team's approach differs significantly from past generations. It's not much different from how some people show affection for an athlete. There was no negotiation to obtain him, and you probably know why. The second statement is that this reflects a typical pattern for the team. However, that reality isn't true. It's possible that in the past, the team made bold moves, but that's not what we see today. Current moves are less significant, especially during the draft. When was the last time a team made a major play in the draft? The most recent attempt to create a big impact occurred in 2012, when a trade was made to bring in a player. How long ago was that? Since 2014, they haven't made moves on the second day, when they traded for another athlete. This behavior has become rare. I'm tired of hearing variations of the idea that management wants to make a big move because that simply doesn't happen anymore. The desire to find a standout player from the past no longer holds up. There's no point in revisiting what happened in 1995. This approach no longer fits the current reality. We need to stop acting as if they still operate that way. And by the way, if they manage to move up to the second overall pick, which is quite valuable, the only realistic way would be if a few teams allowed them to move up. That way, it would make sense to land the fourth or fifth pick. Why wouldn't they just go for the player? These teams need a standout player. What's the reason for not picking the best or the second best player on the list? Let's analyze trade costs, which will likely resemble past negotiations, not what the simulators suggest. Simulators can be helpful, but their trade proposals are often unrealistic. Typically, they're complex, and offering a third and fourth pick for a first, second, and another first that many thought would become a first-round pick, plus a future third, is even more costly. If you want to move from 12 to 2, you're likely going to need to offer 2 first-round picks, 1 second-round pick, and 1 third-round pick. The amount needed to reach the second overall pick is considerable. I'm not willing to part with that, considering the player addresses 2 needs. This year, you don't have any draft picks, and you're without the best pick for next year. Plus, you won't be able to draft with the second pick next year, in any case. You might even get 4th pick, but that's uncertain. If your goal is to move up to the second overall pick, that's a significant challenge. I won't give up the idea that the player addresses 2 fundamental needs. Right now, you don't have any draft picks this year, and you're without the best pick for the following year. Additionally, you won't be able to use a second-round pick next year, regardless of the situation. He might be traded for a 4th-round pick, but that's likely to cost at least a first and a second-round pick. You might feel the need to offer a future pick, which tend to be more viable when reaching the 5th round, as each pick you acquire is more valuable. However, if you reach the 4th round, it's highly likely that another team will select the player. I just don't think this aligns with how the team operates today. They don't do things that way anymore. Although this may seem exciting, for a team that picks based on need, it would mean sacrificing all your picks for just one player. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Is Josh Allen heading to the Dallas Cowboys? While speculation about high-profile NFL player moves is nothing new, the idea of Allen joining one of the most storied franchises in football has suddenly gained a lot of traction. Could this be the boldest trade of the year? Fans and analysts alike are buzzing, and the pieces are starting to fall into place. With the Cowboys' quarterback position remaining a point of focus, the potential addition of Allen would undoubtedly shift the balance of power in the NFC. After several years of standout play in Buffalo, Josh Allen's value in the league is undeniable. From his 2020 breakout season, where he led the Bills to the AFC Championship, to becoming the first NFL quarterback to record both passing and rushing touchdowns in the same game, Allen has established himself as one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the game. His arm strength, combined with his mobility, has made him a constant threat in both the air and on the ground. But with the Bills' 2024 season beginning with some ups and downs, particularly after injuries and roster changes, Allen may be looking for a new challenge. This is where the Cowboys come into play. Dallas, with its rich history of quarterback legends, has always been a team with high expectations. Despite Dak Prescott's resilience and leadership, questions about the team's long-term direction have been swirling. Could the addition of a talent like Allen bring them closer to another Super Bowl? The rumors have been building since Allen's struggles this season, especially following two major hits that left him nursing injuries. While the Bills have managed to adapt, the notion of Allen donning a Cowboys uniform to lead them into a new era has sparked both hope and skepticism. The fit, however, isn't just about Allen's abilities, it's about the Cowboys' ambitions. With key players like Micah Parsons and C.D. Lamb, Dallas boasts a solid core, and bringing in Allen could give them the final piece needed to push for a championship. Allen's style of play is exactly what the Cowboys need: a fearless, playmaking quarterback who can elevate an already formidable roster. The pressure would be immense, but it's a challenge that Allen has already faced head-on in Buffalo, proving he has the grit and determination to rise to the occasion. As the NFL offseason continues, the whispers around Josh Allen's future grow louder. Will the Cowboys make the bold move to acquire him, or will they stay the course with Prescott? No matter what happens, this is one story that fans will be watching closely. With every passing day, the possibility of Allen's move to Dallas becomes more intriguing, leaving us all wondering if this dream trade could soon become a reality. Stay tuned. The drama is only just beginning. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.